Hi everyone, it's Chloe. I'm here with another video today, and I think this video topic, at least, is really important to talk about, especially when dealing with trans people, and that is depression and anxiety. I think that's something that a lot of trans people go through pre-transition, during transition, and after they've met their transition goals. I know it's definitely something that I went through and I'm still sometimes going through now. Pre-transition, right before I started my transition, I had had a really, really tough year, coming out of a 2-year relationship, very abruptly. I think took a toll on me that year. And then dealing with all of my gender identity stuff that I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I struggled a lot, especially with anxiety. I used to have really terrible panic attacks, where I would have my chest would tighten up and I would start breathing very heavily, and I just, mentally you go into this just super tense experience when you're having a panic attack. It's like you feel like at that moment that is the worst possible moment in your life. And it's just, it's consuming. It's all consuming. And something that I've learned to do with my anxiety is that I have to find grounding techniques. Whether that be going outside and walking and just breathing slowly while I'm walking and, taking that in, or whether that be calling my mom or calling my best friend Sarah, or reading a magazine, or playing with my dog, something to bring me back to reality, back to realizing that no, this is not the worst moment in your life. No, this is mental. This is not real. This is just bringing yourself back to that moment and just talking yourself through it has helped me a lot. Pre-transition, I dealt with a lot. I struggled a lot with my identity, because throughout my life I had wanted to transition on and off. I had experienced kind of these feelings in waves. I first started thinking about transitioning when I was 11 or 12, maybe. I finally found out what that was, and I would think to myself, okay, well, this is what I want to be. That I want to be a woman. I'm a trans person, and I lived in Texas, so that just wasn't a possibility at that point in my life. And then I came out to my parents as gay, and then that brought me a lot of anxiety too. But then I lived as a gay male previously to my transition. But around high school, so about 9th or 10th grade, I started feeling these really intense gender identity feelings where I just really wanted to transition. And that went away again. I suppressed it until maybe about my senior year, when I told my brother and I told some of my friends at my high school when I moved to Dallas, and moving to Rochester, Minnesota, where I first attended college. I was planning to start my transition, and then I met a guy, and we had a relationship for 2.5 years, almost 2.5 years, and and after that, obviously I was dealing with anxiety issues after a breakup, because it was a very abrupt breakup. It happened very quickly, and kind of unexpectedly, and that gave me anxiety issues. And then dealing with my gender identity, feelings come intensely in after that as well. I mean, there were points in my relationship with him that I had really intense feelings of needing to transition about a year in, and I almost broke up with him then, but I didn't. And so following our breakup, I just was so much anxiety from breakup and then so much anxiety from transition that I would just have panic attacks so often. And I didn't tell anyone about it really until they were getting bad. And I think that's something that a lot of trans people experience, at least, is anxiety about, you know, where their life is going to take them and if they're going to be able to transition. But just try that grounding technique. Just bring yourself, whether that's through meditation or through reading or through talking to someone or walking your pets or whatever, just find a thing or an activity that brings you down and calms you down. Also with depression, I suffered very mild depression. I would not say it was major depression, but I was at the point where I was missing class, I was sleeping all day, I was neglecting caring for my animals, I was neglecting personal hygiene and eating, and for probably 2 months, I just stopped talking to people. I just stopped being myself mentally. And then I decided, okay, I'm just gonna, and I really didn't tell anyone. I didn't talk to anyone about it. And finally, I just decided that I was gonna see a therapist. Partly because I wanted to start my hormones, and in Minnesota, you have to see a therapist first before you can get your hormones. But so dealing with depression, I think, was a lot harder than dealing with my anxiety because that came in spurts. The depression lasted a lot longer. But I feel like it truly, if you were at the point that I was, it just takes going to get help. But I don't, if you have other suggestions to help people who watch this video, please leave comments down below of how you've passed through a depressive state in your life and what techniques you think are beneficial. And I think during transition, the anxiety and the depression is a little different. I think going from thinking about what your future will hold and, you know, being really depressed about not being able to transition or fighting those feelings is a lot different during transition, because during transition you're doing it. You're on hormones or you're presenting female, but there are different anxieties and depression or depressive symptoms that can come with that. Anxiety, I think for me, during my transition, and I'm still transitioning, I have not met my transition goals, but I am working towards that. But anxiety, I think a lot of it comes from, am I passing? Am I safe? Am I worth love? Because that's a big thing, is number 3. Am I worth love? Because a lot of people during transition are fetishized and people only want them for one thing, and that can take a toll on people. Dating's really rough as a trans person. Other things are family. If your transition has affected you and your family, that can be really, really, I mean, that can affect your mental health a lot. Also, you know, your future transition goals. If I am constantly thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get my boobs done ever. Like, I'm never going to be able to afford that. Or I'm never going to be able to afford bottom surgery because my insurance won't cover it, and I'm not going to be able to raise $30,000 to get it done. So there's all these factors that come in, and just being and being discriminated against in a workplace or in public is rough. I've had that happen to me so often. And it's not even like, some people go out of their way to make you feel like crap because you're trans. But there are some things that kind of slip from people's mouths that almost are worse to me. Especially with pronouns in the very beginning. That gave me a lot of anxiety, dealing with pronouns and being in public and being with someone I know and them saying, well, he would like this, or he something something. And that just was like, like, you like gasp, or you like the air is just like lost from your lungs when people say that, and they don't really understand that something like that can trigger an anxiety issue, or just thinking about like pronouns and safety. And if you're in a public space with, let's just say, a lot of men, and you never know in a giant group of men, so like revealing that is so rough for a trans person, and that can bring a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression issues too. Is, you know, like I said before, is like thinking about your future transition goals and if you're going to be able to meet them. But what I found is that something that has really helped me through my transition is, and I'm speaking for myself, but making friends with other trans girls. It makes the world of difference. It has for me. Just being able to share your struggle with someone who understands is huge. It's like you say something and you just know that what you're saying is being heard, and they know because they've been through it too. So just when dealing with anxiety and depression, just know that there are ways to fix it. I know when you talk about severe anxiety and severe depression, those are all mental health issues that, you know, often require professional attention. But when dealing with mild things, there are things that you can do yourself to help yourself out of it. And I hope that me just sharing a little bit about my experiences help someone, maybe. So I appreciate everyone listening to my stories and tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. I do have a proposition for everyone, but I will make another short video about that later. So everyone, have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.